fine. If anyone has tuned in just yet with Facebook, welcome, welcome, welcome. Just sitting here, getting in my little element, getting in my little zone. Here, jamming. Let me go ahead and do my disclaimer. For anyone who's listening, look, I do not own the rights to this music that I'm playing, but this song just been in my spirit the last couple of weeks, and I just love it. I'm pretty excited about tonight. So excited. So excited. Well, welcome anyone. For any listeners, we're going to go ahead and get started in a few. Yes, I'm excited about tonight. I hope y'all excited too. Now I can see. Hey, Cousin Ramona. How are you doing today? We got a few more people who's tuning in. For anyone who hear the song, if y'all like it, the name of it is called Cycles, which my boo-boo, my little Brent, honey, boo-boo, I love you. She hooked me on to this song, and this song has just been ministering to me so much. But the name of it is called Cycles by Jonathan Reynolds, I think it is. But at the end, I'll go ahead and I'll post it in the comments for anyone it is who would like to listen to it. It's so good. Cycles is the name of it. Yes. Who else we have? Hey, Janae, honey. Hi, mother. Hey, sis. Hey, Jess. How are you today, sis? Well, we talked earlier, but still, hi. Yay. Like I said, we're going to get started in a few. Give people a little bit more time to go ahead and log in. Tonight we are going to be talking about identity in the becoming of. I don't really think people really understand that the present day that you're in right now is just a pass through. It's just like a pass. It's a pass by. It's like a temporary stage. And one thing it is I think we really all take for granted is we don't really utilize the 24 hours in the day. We don't utilize the time to just be productive, to really be able to move and to get things done, not just to get it done just for our own self-being, but to get things done to get us where we need to be or where we're desiring to be into life, or what we're becoming, because we're all becoming something, So as we give people enough time to go ahead and get in. Again, I'm gonna post that song. It just blessed me so much when my little boo-boo Britt, she shared it with me, and I've just been jamming it ever since. So yeah, y'all can give big shout outs to Britt. I don't know if she's watching on tonight. But I'm excited. I hope y'all are excited as well. Oh no. There we go. No, I still don't think we have it. I know I got my little boo-boo, my hubby, he in here with me to where it's actually, recording. I have the YouTube channel as well, so I have to make sure I'm recording it. So, no, I don't think that's it, boo-boo. Sorry, listeners. It's even one of these things. Maybe I have them in the wrong one. But it's okay. We gonna do this thing in excellency. We gonna get it. We gonna make it happen. I know. Yay! There we go. Give a hand clap to my little boo-boo. My boo-boo who gets stuff done around here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. For anyone it is who's tuning in for the very first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Johanna. As I always say, my Facebook Live, I have you here, I have my listeners here, and then I kind of have my attention here. So even though it may not seem like I'm here, I see you. I see you. I see you. I see you, Facebook. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Johanna Zeno, and this is my podcast that I have listeners. I have it Facebook Live on Wednesdays. I also too have the YouTube channel for it. It's still underneath a little bit of construction, but hey, we're getting it because we're going to be able to operate in excellency. And the name of the podcast is called Uncomfortable. Why is because in the decision making on us coming up with the names and the whole overall goal that I had for this particular podcast was for us to get down into the nitty gritty stuff, the stuff that most people just really don't even want to talk about, the things that is people just feel ashamed to talk about, or they just sweep it underneath the rug, like they just want to avoid it. But we all know and understand, if you do not know, is that all of the problems, the situations, circumstances, the obstacles, eventually we have to face it at some point in time. And that's really what I want to utilize this podcast for. Of course, it's going to be a good thing because it's a God thing, but for us to be able to discuss some of the things it is that we so desperately want to say, or the things it is that we deal with, but no one wants to say it because of shame, or because of pride, or because of the idea of maybe we being offending people, or being offended in some sense of whatever the case may be. But this is the podcast where we come, we talk, you have questions, inbox me or make your comments. One thing I'm a firm believer in is that whatever it is that we're going through as individuals is never about us. It's for us, but it's never about us, because the stuff that we go through, or the trials and the transgressions of things and the tribulations, is always meant for us to help the next person it is who's coming behind us. It positions us to really be able to speak from an experience perspective, than just like which wisdom is always good. Wisdom is great. I'm not knocking wisdom, which we know how the book says that he that knows that he for he that knows that he knows and not all knows absolutely nothing. So I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it from a perspective of experience. So there's a lot of things it is that I have experienced, is a lot of things that I may have individuals on as guests or whoever to just talk about their experiences with some uncomfortable stuff. So like I said, on tonight we are going to be talking, and we are going to be discussing identity and the becoming of. I'm not really sure who can relate to it, but I'm sure many of us have struggled with who we are. Even at times, sometimes when we may even question, like, am I really being my true self? Like, believe it or not, me and my husband was having a conversation the other day. I thought it was weird, but he was like, nah, I do it too. To where I was sitting down and like I was just kind of poking myself, I'm like, man, like we're really here. Like we really do, like we exist. Like we are something, we're some type of form, like, you know what I mean? Like for me, that fascinates me. But knowing that I am real, so whatever it is that I label to myself, or even what others may even try to label on me, is still part of my identity. And regardless of how ugly it may be, regardless of how pretty it may be, or whatever baggage it is that come with it, that we all still have to be willing and be accepting and just be humble enough for us just to accept who we truly are, regardless if it's good or bad, and really being able to operate in our true self. Understanding that we are all on a journey. I had my pastor who mentioned to me before lots of times we say that I don't want to just be existing, but I want to be living. But in the living, the living is where we're actually doing self-discovery. We're learning who we are. We're learning what our root system comes from. We're learning why we act a certain way, or why we do things a certain way, why we treat people a certain way, or why people even treat us a certain way. I recently did a a 23andMe. And let me tell you, if you have not done it, I was telling my husband I wanted to do it for so long. He finally went and got it for me. I don't remember if it was for my birthday or if it was for Mother's Day. It was one, he saying Mother's Day. He ended up back. But in me doing my 23andMe and with my identity and with my DNA, I discovered that I had like some sub-Saharan African in me, which we know from my complexion and everything, which I love my dark skin, I love my chocolate skin. But I also discovered that I had like some Native Americans, some Asians, some European, just having all these different things that's just combined inside of my DNA. And in believing it or not, is absolutely nothing that I can do about it. It's me, it's part of me, and I'm pretty sure that you all can relate to some type of extent that you are who you are. You are who you are. It's nothing you can do. It's nothing you can say. Yeah, you may be able to make some type of cosmetic change. You may be able to do something drastic with the hair or whatever the case may be. But we're all still in the journey to where we are doing self-discovery and just being able to stay true to that, and also to being able to fall in love with who you are. When I was younger, it was mentioned and it was said to me that how is it that you could expect others to love you when you don't even love yourself? So on my journey of me becoming who I was, well, I'm still becoming, but on my journey of really falling in love with myself and accepting who I was, accepting everything it is that I have done or whatever the case may be, it helped me just to love myself. And what happens in many of times is, which I can't speak for all of y'all, but I can speak for myself, is I find myself being in certain situations to where I was expecting someone to treat me a certain way, or I was expecting people to be a certain way towards me, or expecting people to just do whatever. Because why? That's what I felt that I needed. It felt like it was something that I wanted. But truth be told was, I really couldn't expect anything from them. Why? Because it wasn't anything it is that I even held to high standards, even for myself. So yeah, many of us probably could have been in relationships and we even asked the question on, oh, well, why he do me this way, or why it seemed like he don't love me, or why she seemed to be doing, whatever it is that she want to do, or whatever the case may be. We find ourselves in situations, like I say, that's only if you could even relate to it, to where we're wanting so much from the next person, but we're not even positioning ourselves to even love who we are and accepting who we are. I have it here. One of the books that was recommended to me and my husband is called The 5 Love Languages. This is a great book. It is an amazing book. It is a book that I always reference back to. Why I reference back to it is because it teaches me how to love on a different level. Not just only for myself, but even also to love others. Anyone it is who doesn't know my story or know my journey is that I come from a single mother household. And so my mom had her first marriage, and my late dad, he's deceased now, which he passed away. And now my mom has remarried. But I didn't come from a functional family that, yeah, we said we love each other and we showed it, but not really express it to a multitude of, hey, this is what love really looks like. This is what love really represents. This is what love is attached to. So without really knowing that and not really understanding that, and at the same token, not really loving myself in who I was, because I dealt with insecurity, I dealt with abandonment, I dealt with rejection and all that other good stuff. It was hard for me to even love myself, which made it even harder, what I truly believe, to get anyone to start to even love me. And not just in the sense of loving me, but getting them to love me on how I needed to be loved, getting them to love me through all of the through all of the shame, all of the hurt, all of the baggage, and everything it is that came attached to me. It came attached to my identity, of stuff. So yes, being able to truly know who you are, understand who you are, who you're becoming, and falling in love with yourself. And not just falling in love with yourself just on a standard perspective, but falling so greatly in love on the man or the woman it is that you're becoming. And also to understanding that we all have a start date and we have a finish date. I was looking over some of my notes from whenever I did a Bible study a couple of Tuesdays ago, and I forgot pretty much the name of it, but I remember speaking in elaborating on the dash, like a dash, you know, like a little dash. A dash always is in between two things. It has like a start date and then it has like an end date. And believe it or not, we all have like start dates. We all have an end date on something. And for me, when I thought about identity, it was more so on that little dash is really what explains who you really are. It links what your identity really, like what it really modifies. Yeah, whenever we say identity or identification, we all know, for anyone who has a license or anyone who has an ID or whatever the case may be, you have an identification card. Something it is that you have to display to people for them to know who you are. That can be like your name, it can be your height, it can be your weight, it can even be what else is on the driver's license, like your address. It can be all those things which has physical attributes to where people can just make it out, or even to like with your address on knowing where they can locate you. But little do we really know, or little did I even know, or neither did I understand, is that identity goes way past what it is that we can show people, but it's more so too on what it is that we deal with on the inside. Stuff it is that we really can speak from a perspective of an experience. We can speak from the perspective of any trials or situations or obstacles or whatever it is that we have gone through. And one thing that I say many of times is, you know, for anyone who doesn't know my situation, like with my dad or whatever, is that I've learned, and I pray that you can learn, how to pretty much take pride in ownership and your identity and who you are, or even what you're becoming. Because one thing that I don't regret, nor do I question anymore, is that had my dad been, you know, the dad who I needed him to be, or had the relationship it is that I wanted to work out, had it work out, or better yet, any of the friends it is who I've encountered a relationship with or some type of development with, what if that had worked out? If it had worked out, then would I be the person it is I am today? Would I be modifying the lifestyle it is that I have a desire to live, or even a desire to be, or even to, better yet, even asking the question, had I still, you know, been involved with whatever, I had certain people part of my life, would I even be the wife I am today? Would I even be the mother that I am today? Which, truth be told, I believe that I'm a great mother. But being a great mother didn't just come with me just saying, oh, okay. Oh, okay, this is what motherhood looked like. No, I had to be able to identify with what being a good mother or a great mother was an example of, and then start to just own that and walk in that, and not just that, but start to even speak that thing over my life. And yes, I've learned from the different trials and the oppositions and the obstacles and experience that everyone is not going to just love you the way how you want them to love you, but in the essence of everything, if you can just learn to do self-love, self-love of whatever your identity may look like, whatever your identity may modify, just to do self-love. And we know that, yeah, we always constantly say it is that I love myself, I don't really need nobody else to love me, or whatever the case may be. But understanding that, guess what? Everyone needs love. Everyone needs a feeling. Everyone needs like affirmation of something. Everyone has a sense of belongingness. Everyone wants to have that feeling of like togetherness. Everyone wants to have that person or have that thing that, you know, like it's just assurance that, hey, it is good, that I feel like I'm important. I feel like, I mean something to someone. I feel as if there's a self-worth somewhere. So we have to get out of the mindset, let me say that, to an extent, that we can just live a life by ourselves, or we can live a life without nobody else, or the fact that some, which I've heard before, is that they just choose to just live in their own little bubble. They just want to, go into protective mode, according to like, hey, look, nah, I'm good. I don't want to deal with nobody. I don't want no confrontation. I don't want nobody to look at me a certain way. I don't want people to, think about me a certain way. So I just rather stay in my little cocoon, stay all by myself, where I'm safe and where I'm protected. But God loves us. Yes, Jesus loves us. They're the reasons on why we even here, on why we even exist. But at the same time, knowing that we all still need love in some type of aspect, and some type of, altitude of something. And in the preparation for tonight, which I did have other plans, but God had other plans, you know what I mean? Which it is all good. It is all great. Why? Because it is all God. But with the preparation of identity, the person it is who the person in the Bible, because I try to always find a character or some type of story in the Bible that I really felt a connection with, was Leah. For any of my Bible readers who don't know who Leah is, Leah was one of the sisters, which her sister was Rachel, and Leah was identified, or she was labeled, or correct me if I'm wrong, as being one of like the left-eyed sisters. She was the one who really never had any type of curve appeal. She was considered to be like the ugly duckling of the sisters. She was the one, it was like she was like less than. She was the one who got put in the category of, it may be a possibility that no one would find her as having any type of confidence. No one would find her to be in a position on living her life and living her life abundantly. And in doing that, it brought me to the understanding of, and even to when I did the lesson of it, is that we all deal with some type of Leah perspective. Now, for anyone who's my Bible readers, or anyone who really understand Leah and her struggles and what her appearance was and how she felt rejected, how she felt second in line, then you can understand what I just said. And if not, please go back to Genesis. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's Genesis 28, it's Genesis 29, where it talks about Leah and everything it is that she went through. But most of us have some type of Leah issues. We have Leah situations to where we all deal with identity of some sort. And it doesn't just have to be like a physical thing, because yeah, it was Leah's appearance that caused people to label her, but it was also to the fact that Leah, because of that, she dealt with so much stuff on the inside. And I'm not sure if many of you can relate, which I'm pretty sure you can, but we all deal with some stuff on the inside. I know me, I'm a true testament to that. Like I can really identify with my ugly stuff, is that I dealt with some stuff on the inside. I'm still dealing with some stuff, on the inside, but I understand and I know that I'm in my stage in my life to where I'm becoming. And just like I mentioned before, we're all becoming something. We're all walking into something. We all have a desire to be something or to do something, regardless if that's something, regardless if it's in a relationship, regardless if it's a friendship, or even if it's on a job, or sometimes it can even be in a church. You know what I mean? Like, some people I know, like, and it's, no, look here, don't stone me, okay? But it can even be to a point to where, I see people, or even hear stories to where people, they just go to church and they like, nah, I ain't getting involved. I'm just going to do my due due diligence, whatever, tongue live, of going, get my word, I'm good, I'm going to roll from that. I don't want to serve. Why I don't want to serve? Because I don't know what people going to say about me. I don't want to, go ahead and audition for the choir. Why? Because people go, they're going to know where I come from. They're going to know some of the stuff it is that I have done before. Or they just be like, looking, nah, I'm good. I don't want to, participate in this. Or I don't want to show up for that. Why? Because then it's going to start making people start talking. Which is like me, I've come to the understanding and the mindset, don't really care what people say, which that takes some type of maturity, for that to eventually evolve into you really being comfortable with who you are. But just knowing that we all still deal with something. We all still deal with something. So identification, like I had mentioned before, is if you have like a license or whatever, that can leave labels and stuff. But many a times whenever we have labels, at the same time we do have restrictions. For me, I used to be labeled as the little chocolate girl. So some of my restrictions that came with being the little chocolate girl or being whatever was that some of the boys didn't find me attractive. I couldn't be in this particular group because they was classified as being caramel or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? Like, they just labeled me. And because of the label that they gave me, it put restrictions on me. And I didn't think it was fair. Nor did I think it was right. I'm like, look, I'm young. Like, wait, what? Like, nah. Like, you can't stop me from doing a thing or feeling a certain way just because of the color of my skin. You know what I mean? But people did it. People did it. And one of the biggest restrictions that I felt, I was held back from with so many things, and for any of my dark-skinned girls, I'm pretty sure you can relate to it too, is that how I used to get told all the time, oh, you pretty for a dark-skinned girl. Are you beautiful like for a dark-skinned girl? And I'm just like, wait, what? Why can't I just be pretty, or why can't I just be beautiful? But at the same token, knowing that my chocolate skin was part of my identification. It was part of my identity. A few weeks ago, I had covered the topic where I had spoke about the jar, if any of my listeners or even Facebook, if y'all remember. And I said that most of us, like, we live our life to where it's in a jar. And what wound up happening is whenever you're in the jar and you have the lid on top, you become accustomed to jumping. And then because you hit your head on a closed jar so many times, you start to go just as high as keeping yourself from that particular jar. And what winds up happening is because we become so accustomed or we become so immune to the lid being on the jar, once it's taken off, we still find ourselves still jumping and still going in that same rhythm. Why? Because we became so accustomed to that. That's what life restrictions can be at time. And whenever you're not one to where you can really own your identity, you're able to own who you really are, you will always feel as if you have some type of restrictions on your life because of what you look like, or because of what your hair may look like, or your body type, or whatever the case may be. Not being honest, some of us may even be like, where I dealt with other things. You know what I mean? Like, where people on one hand, like, they would be like, oh no, Joe, she this sweet girl, she this kind-hearted girl, she's a good listener, she gives great advice. Like, people are always geared towards, like, good stuff, which is still good, like, to boost you up, to motivate you, whatever the case may be. But then at the same time, because of those restrictions or the things it is that people try to label you or try to keep you so condemned to, they don't really understand the stuff that you go through, the uncomfortable stuff, the stuff it is that when you go home at night and you crying, or you trying to find a book to read that can help you with the outlet or even expressing. So yeah, people will speak on the good of things from the identification, like I mentioned before, what it appears to be. But our true identity, at least what I feel I could attest to it, and I pray that helps someone else's, is really the stuff that we deal with on the inside. It's really the stuff it is that we experience. It's really the stuff that seems to surface in our lives that makes us do certain things, or it causes us to be a certain way. You know what I mean? Like, just say, like, for instance, one of my ladies and women it is who I look up to is Michelle Obama. Now, some of y'all may not, whatever, but she my girl. Like, I love her. So even though her outer appearance is beautiful, is flawless to me, and is good, but at the same token, what it is, when Michelle presented herself to the world to see, you never seen her with her face all down. You never seen her with a frown. You never seen her, do all those things. What you seen was her with her smile on her face and holding her head up high, supporting her husband and, what it is that he was doing. We didn't see, even though we knew of all the persecution and everything that was taking place and all the stones that was being thrown and all of the racism and all that other stuff, they did not allow that to affect what their ultimate goal, what the ultimate purpose is. So on tonight, if I can leave you with anything, is to leave you with that despite of whatever your identification may be or whatever your identity is, to own it, to accept it, because it's you. When I was younger, I used to have, my dad used to tell me all the time, it's like, ain't nobody can do you but you. Ain't nobody can be you but you. You have to be the best you it is that you can be, regardless of whatever it is that you need to do to make it happen. Now, I say all that not to say, like, gearing off, going to do some negative stuff, or whatever the case may be, but just saying that you need to take a stand. You need to start to learn how to speak life into yourself. And guess what? It is something that I had struggled with for a long time. Yes, people do say, Joe, you a good mother, but being a good mother wasn't something that just happened overnight. It is something that I had to pray about. It is something that I had to speak life over. It is something that I really had to ask God to help me in the preparation of becoming the best mother it is that I can be, becoming the best woman it is that I can be, and now too, adding to the titles of things, of becoming the best wife that I desire to be. So many of times we are identified by things we go through or what has happened to us, and some of that could be like a fatherless child or even a motherless child, and that can really attach to much of our identification. And believe it or not, that if you're one to where it seems to, like, okay, say for instance, you a man and you have kids, and I'm just throwing it out there, I ain't throwing no shots at nobody, I'm just putting it out there, but just to say, as if you a father and you never had a father figure in your life, you know what I mean? And then next thing you know, you go start having kids. You go start having kids. I know, come on my women, please don't stone me, but many of times you'll see where the man, because he has identified to himself as you come from a fatherless place, you come from where you never had no one to teach you how to be a father, you come from not having it as a role model in front of you, being, an example of what, then we hold the standards up high, like I said earlier, was when you start to love yourself, you can't expect someone to come and love you more than you can love yourself. And yes, my women, I know we can't be fathers. I get that, got that, and I'm saying it from a single mother perspective at one point in time in my life. But we expect the fathers to come in and be something it is that they never was taught, something it is that they may not even have like a clue or even an idea of even being or doing. Now that does not, I repeat, it does not exempt them from having to take on the responsibility of things. But what we do have to be mature in the understanding is that not all of us are taught how to be a mother or how to be a father or what that even looks like had we not had it modeled in front of us. So whenever I go on to say, and I did use father because I know from the saying back in the day was, hey, it's mama's baby, daddy's maybe. That's why I said it from that point of view for my dads, which I'm a firm believer, like, hey, you got kids, take care of your kids, do with your kids. Women, let them men take care of their kids. Why? Because we have so many identifications. We have so many things that are attached to our identity. Some people know some things it is that some people don't know. but no one will never ever understand the root of it all inside of a person, and that only comes through communication, and that comes through understanding. So my women, like I say, don't stone me. It's not like I'm taking up for my men or doing whatever, but I'm just using that as a guide or using that as an example. But even too, like if we even think about our mothers, yes, I've heard the saying before that you know, to be a mother does not necessarily mean you just give birth. That don't take it. Some women that I have known has done abortions, that have done even adoptions or whatever the case may be. And guess what? It's no judgment on that. Why? Because only you knew in that appointed time what you could do or what you couldn't do. And again, don't stone me, but let's just speak truth. It is called uncomfortable for a reason, for us to talk about some uncomfortable stuff. But even for the ones who have had an abortion, yes, is a sin. It's not something it is that you should do. But going back to what Maya Angelou said, that until you know better, do the best that you can do. And then once you know better, then you do better. So for all of my women who may have had that, who have done that, or even too from a perspective of even adoption, it's no judgment on that. Why? Because maybe you just didn't know in the sense of it. Maybe you didn't have no idea. Maybe you didn't have no understanding on, hey, how could I even be a mother? And again, I say all this whenever I said that for me to be the best and the greatest mother that I could possibly be, that took prayer, that took some supplications, that took some fasting, that took me putting in some work on really first identifying with who I really am and trusting that God created me this way with my hair, my looks. Yeah, I'm natural. My girl should be taking care of me or whatever. My look and my ways for a reason and for a purpose. Everyone may not agree with it, but at the same time, for the ones who don't agree with it are the ones who simply don't understand what is attached to my identification, what is attached to my identity, and all the root of everything that it sustains inside of me or even inside of you. One of the things that we implement with our kids is, it's just something that came from the top of my head. But my husband and I, we were brought up in a household where we didn't really have father figures. Okay, we was ones to where we witnessed our mother struggling, not being able to partake in activities, and again, like I just said, that is when you know better, you do better, but at the same time understanding that oppositions come, you know what I mean? So it's needless to say that when I talk on our moms, it's not saying that they didn't want to do it. They were just simply pretty much not in a position on where they can do it. And because I truly believe they had a heart that desire to do it, is why they raised us to be the man and the woman it is that we are today. But with my husband and I, because of where we came from and because of what was so attached to our names, we decided that, yeah, of course, we got to pray about any and everything. And it's not so much to say that we want to give our kids the lives that we never had, but we chose and prayed about utilizing the things it is that we experienced when we were younger to making sure we don't have our kids feeling the exact same way. So what does that look like? Some of us were involved in sports and whatever the case may be. And at the same token, with it being said, is we had single mothers. So no, our parents were not always able to make the parent-teacher conference. They were not always able to make the sports activities. They were not always able to make, open house. They were not always able to take us on vacations. Like, believe it or not, I love traveling. But that's not something that I experienced when I was younger. It was whenever I became older. And why? Because my mom was not in a situation to do it. She wasn't in a position to do it. And I'm pretty sure it's the same thing for Terrence, where we just wasn't in positions to do it. So everything that we experienced from when we were younger, all of the good, all of the bad, all of the bad, we pretty much utilize that with our kids now, to where, no, because we knew how this felt, let's make it an obligation not to have our kids feel the same way. because we know what it's like when we were younger to be without, hey, let's not, have our kids feel the same thing. Now, that does not necessarily mean that we give them everything it is that they ask for. No. I tell my kids the story all the time. Whenever I was 15, I bought my first car, okay? I was 15 with a paid out call that I got from somebody who my daddy knew. Paid my first car out myself. And then I got my license. So yeah, I'm one of those who had a car before I had a license. So to work for what it is that you want, that is strictly something it is that we do teach our kids, and that's not going to end. That is not going to go away, because they have to develop work ethics. They have to develop money management. They have to develop pretty much like a understanding of what adulthood look like. So no, there are kids and we treat them as such, but we do speak wisdom and speak life into our kids, to the understanding of, hey, we had to experience this from this perspective. So what we're going to do is we're not going to make it easier for you. We're not going to make it easier, but we're just going to make it to where it's not going to be as hard. And again, I say all this to say is because what we experienced when we were younger is not the same thing that we want to leave on our kids. We don't want them to be, without. We don't want them to see us have to struggle. We don't want to see them have to be like, okay, having to go without because of whatever financial situations. Yes, you are going to have some. I'm pretty sure you will have some, because we still have some here. We ain't the richest people in the world, but we are tithers. We do pay our tithes though. Let me just say that. But it took a lot of prayer and us really going to God in this essence of, asking God to lead us and asking God to guide us through what it is that we decided to make as a structure, to make as a foundation of whenever it comes to our kids, but still not covering up or not trying to replenish who we are or how we were brought up and why, because that is still part of us. Our childhood is still part of us. Every past mistake, every past, bad decision, or every past, regret, resentment of whatever it was, it is still part of us. It is still linked to our identity. It is still linked to who we are becoming. So that's one thing it is that we never shy away from our kids, and I pray that you don't do the same thing either, because I think the worst thing that we can do as parents is have them think or even believe that we used to live a life that was just so grand, to where everything was just catered to us, on a gold plate with a silver spoon. I don't really know where that came from, but yeah. But one thing we all have to know and keep in mind is that we are living a life in a certain way that is a choice. At the end of the day, we all have a choice to make, regardless of how it started off. Doesn't matter. Regardless of how what you may be going through at the present time, doesn't matter. But to know that within the choices it is that we make, that we can always change the ending story. We can always change the legacy that is going to be attached to our identification, to our identity. Being able to understand what that dash, as I spoke about in the beginning, what it really represents. From the time it is that you was born to the time it is that God calls you home, what will your identification look like? What will people be able to identify you with as just being a good person, being a person who just went to work every single day, paying the bills, taking care of the kids? Or will you have some type of identification to where, or identity to where they can be like, no, that was a good woman, that was a good man, they helped out as many people it is that they can. I seen them leave a legacy, for their kids behind. I seen how this person once was when they were younger, to see how he has evolved now that he's an adult, to see how she hasn't evolved, as a woman. I seen what they went through and what they've been through with not having a mother or not having a father, to now they're the best mother or they're the best father in their child's life right now. So we all have a dash that represents something. We're once in a place, and knowing that we're all going somewhere, and knowing that this is all in your identity and who you are. All of your past experiences, situations, and everything you have been through is part of your identity. You are becoming something. that we are all becoming something far greater than what we currently are right now. Something than what we're presenting right now. We are all becoming something, and believe it or not, is what you're becoming is going to blow your mind when you get to the end of it. Why? Is because I never would have thought I would be where I am right now, and I can only give that glory to the man above, because it's really by God, through God, and for God that I do everything it is that I'm doing now. But if you had to tell me 3-4 years ago that, hey Joe, you would be, ministering in the church, you would be serving in the church, you would be tithing like you are, you would become a wife, which is a wife is something that I always desired to be. I just knew I couldn't be single, like I couldn't be alone, like I don't do good single, and that's something God had to work with me on. But if you had to tell me back then that what I would be doing now, I would be like, no, you out your mind, you insane. Like, no, not me, not this little girl, from Fightingville or whatever, or the ones that they call chocolate girl, or whatever the case may be. So when I tell you that when you surrender and you just say yes to God, that despite of what your past was, or maybe what it even may identify you with, or what it may model, or give like some type of thought of what the expectations of your life can be like, when you allow God just to lead you and to guide you, it's amazing on what it is that he can do. And I say that to say this: the person that you're becoming is far greater than where you currently are right now. But that is something it is that you have to believe. It is something that I had to believe. It is something that my husband even had to believe. And into knowing that it's a process, and learn how to enjoy the process. I had my first lady who told me back in the day, she said, you start to learn how to enjoy the process. And one thing it is that I asked her, I was like, how do you want me to enjoy the process? Enjoy the process of pain, enjoy the process of hurt, enjoy the process of rejection and abandonment, or the fact that I'm being labeled and being restricted from whatever. Like, how do you want me to enjoy the process of that all? When I started to really being able to identify myself and the fact that God had a purpose, he had a plan, and he had a calling over my life, I was able to know that everything it is that he took me through in those appointed times was to get me where I am now. Everything it is that God is taking you through is to get you through the process. It's for you to have the endurance and for you to have the strength in order for you to make it through. And yeah, some of us are where, we desire to be, and some of us are still, pressing our way on getting there. But I tell you, if you faint not, if you continue to have faith, if you continue to persevere, if you continue to build up that endurance. I heard my sister told me the other day when we did lunch, she said to develop that resistance of stuff. I promise you, without a doubt, that if you are good with just who you are now, just imagine what it is that you're going to do, or what you're going to be, or where you're going to be whenever you understand that you're going through something. That where you are right now is not where you're meant to be, is not where you're meant to stay. Let me correct that. It's only for you to do a pass-through. It's only for you to do not a drive-by. Don't. I don't know where that came from, a whole drive-by. Y'all don't go do no drive-by on nobody, okay? But it's just a pass-through. So the person it is who you're becoming is going to be so great. It's going to be so grand. It's just going to blow your mind in ways on like, oh my gosh, this has to be God. Because if it ain't him, then who is it? And to find the joy in who you are, regardless of whatever it is, that despite of, just find the joy, find the love, find the peace, and find the happiness in accepting who you are and everything it is that is attached to you, everything it is that that merges with you, all of the baggage it is that you have, because not all baggage is bad baggage. Let me go ahead and say that, because my baggage with me meeting my husband wasn't no bad baggage. It was my baggage, and either he was going to accept it or not, and vice versa for him. I either had to accept it or not. But just going through the process of it all is great. It is grand. And the fact of just doing self-discovery, and not really caring what people think. not caring what people have to say, not caring if people, ridicule you or whatever the case may be. Like, just not caring, and caring to an extent that where if you have my best interests at heart, then we good. But if you don't have my best interests at heart, you don't really care for me or whatever the case may be, not really caring. Do you, be you. God created you the way how he created you. You go do as it is that you want to do, say as it is that you want to say. But I tell you, when you start to flip that whole thing and you just start to do as God would have you to do, and you just start to pray that whatever desires it is that you have from the inside, for him just to start to have his way in your life. The Bible tells us that his ways are not our ways, his thoughts are not our thoughts. So let me tell you, his ways and his thoughts is far greater than what anything we can do here on earth. Anything it is that we can try to mold and shape together for ourselves. And that despite of your background or where it is that you come from, continue to press into your journey, into your purpose, and into whatever assignment it is that God has for you. So that is going to conclude our podcast for the night of identity. I pray that it bless you. I know that it definitely blessed me. Why? Because I spoke from the experience of it. The experience of everything. And some of the best lessons I know that I have learned or have even taught was based on experiences. Not something it is that somebody told me or something that somebody else went through, but stuff it is that I was actually able to witness and feel even for myself. So I pray this bless you, because I know that it blessed me. Like I said, the song that I had playing at the beginning, I'm going to go ahead and put that in the comments if you would like to check it out. Like, that is my song. I know my husband gets tired of me listening to it like all the time. And another thing is that I did recommend is this book called The 5 Love Languages. It is something that is geared towards couples, but believe it or not, I was actually reading this thing for self-love too. I was really learning how to love myself and work on myself. So I'll go ahead and take a picture and put this in the comments as well. So until next time, I pray you all are blessed. Thank you for tuning in. It's just good. I told you I was going to be good because it was so good for me. So love you all. Appreciate you all for tuning in, and you all have a blessed and wonderful and amazing night. Until next week. Bye.